Who is Alli? I'm gonna give you my name is J.I. I like to play all day, so sometimes I just blurt out songs and things. You around me, you gonna know that. So I'm your girl, Alli, and my name is Allison. I may not look like one, but I'm one. My name is Allison with an I. I'm affectionately called Alley Cat or Alli, which most people that's what I'll go by. And I was starting to wanted to tell my story for some time, and now is the time with the things that I've been going through. So you're all in with your girl Alli, the hometown hood home girl from the neighborhood around the way, always gonna be hospitable, always gonna be myself. This is who you have. And since I've been promoting my page, somebody who's also a content creator, he saw my name and how I was doing it, and he was like, I see you with All.i.C, and that's exactly what I was trying to put out there. So shout out to Mo.J for curating that name for me, so I can go ahead and just sprout on out into this social media street. So I'm your girl, Alli. Nice to meet y'all. Now, a little about me personally. Again, my name is Allison, and I hail from the great state of Texas, Dallas to be exact, from Oak Cliff, Texas, by way of sunny Southside Dallas. Come from a large family. My grandparents were pillar in the neighborhood, always trying to help those. And so, riding around with them, I was one of the grandbabies with my grandparents all the time. I'm very thankful for being amongst the people, all people, upper echelon down to the people that you pass on the corners. My grandfather taught me integrity and values, and those who are downtrodden, those who don't have a voice. Our family has always been taught to be the advocates, for those, and that's what I do. I believe in that scripture, the last shall be first. So this is my way of being an advocate. I will be starting my nonprofit back up sometime soon, because I want to be in the community at all times. And a lot of things that we need is awareness, especially with health. And so this is where I'm at. I'm an advocate. I'm for the people. I'm for the underdogs. That's what I am. I'm a servant leader. I believe and have faith, and this is where I need to be right now. So just come with me on this journey. And I also tell people I've done, as far as career wise, I've done everything, especially working in the community. Sometimes when you are a community worker, you can be the janitor one day, you can be the executive assistant to the CEO or whatever. So I know how to put on many hats. I've probably done everything, every job except flying a plane or something. So I am well rounded. I love people, but I have my boundaries, whatever. But this is what I am, and awareness is what I do. And so I want people healthy. I want people well. I want us to thrive. I need you to survive, so pray for me to survive too. So that's the bulk of me. So, hey, I'm getting used to this technology and doing all these things. So it's certain questions and I'm coming clicking, but I'm going to make the whole video work. So some of the reasons of why I'm coming is to give my diagnosis story. I'm ready to tell my story. So first, I just want people to know, and I'm taking notes, guys. I have some fog of the brain, so I'm not gonna remember everything. I'm not gonna try to make this documentary or this information like it's perfect. I can't remember everything, so I'm not gonna try to. So if you see me looking down, it's just because I have notes that I've written. So first, I just want people to know that I am a voice for unseen battles. Anybody who is living with invisible illnesses, if you're surviving surgeries, insurance issues, doctor and nurse issues, and all of these verifications and appointments that we have to do. And sometimes you don't have nobody to help you. A lot of people, my grandfather always taught us, follow up and follow through. People do not follow up and follow through. Before you know it, it's a month later, and now they can't even get you an appointment. I'm one of those people. I just want to bring awareness and advocacy to these issues. I just want you to know that I'm still standing on faith, that, this is the truth, and I want to know you guys' story. So please, I'm going to put another picture, post below. Tell us what's going on. Make video responses. I just want a dialogue, and I just want to build. I don't care if it's 5 people that just want to start going live with me talking about what we're going going through in this healthcare system. What can we do? And everything is not, what you're eating. Some things are congenitally given to us, guys. You know, a lot of us, we're not trying to fake. We're not just coming up here, not trying to take care of ourselves. Some things happen in life that I wouldn't wish on my enemy. So join my movement, and I have hashtags Alli.C strong, all in for awareness. And September awareness is one of the ones that we are trying to highlight right now. So I'm just trying to keep the dialogue going with everybody, because it's not just one diagnosis that I have. It's several different ones, and I'm just trying to keep up with them for each month. But put all in for awareness, because that's a plethora of things that I'm going to be doing in Alli.C strong. I appreciate you guys for that. Okay, now welcome. So one of the first questions that I'm going to ask and give my responses, and I'm going to give you guys time to do the same. The first thing is, and like I said, I take notes, so just forgive me, your diagnosis story. What condition or disease do you live with? And so I'm going to answer that first one. I have many different illnesses and diseases, but I've kind of narrowed down to the main two that have caused a big cause and effect on my life. The first one is IIH, formerly known as pseudotumor cerebri. Now they call it idiopathic intracranial hypertension. The second one now that I'm knowing of is hydrocephalus. Some people used to call it a waterhead baby. No offense to anybody. And let me also say, I'm not in any way a doctor. I'm only giving my experiences. So please don't come on this platform and feel any definite. But I'm going to give you 100% of what I feel and what I've been through. That's the definite truth. But I cannot give you anything as far as on that medical side. Trust yourself. Pray, do what you got to do, and follow your doctor's instructions for yourself. Use your discernment. Now going back into that, and another disease that I also have is fibromyalgia, and that's why in others, because there's a checklist that I do have, and I'm not gonna go deep into it, but these are the two biggest ones that have caused certain pain in my body and all those things over these years. So my second question is to your diagnosis, what conditions you have, and I've ran down IIH, hydrocephalus, and now fibromyalgia with some honorary diseases that are added onto it, because when you have autoimmune issues and chronic illnesses, it's so many different symptoms and compartments that it's almost like they're in the same space. So I have other things that also attribute to these conditions. And what conditions or disease do you live with? When were you diagnosed, and how did you find out? We've always known it was there. My mother has always worked and used her insurance and taken me to the doctor. Now, we do know that there are certain biases when it comes to healthcare. With some of these autoimmune diseases, chronic illnesses, things of that nature, they don't always have certain data, because a lot of times we as a culture, speaking for myself, not outing anyone else, please don't take this in any offense, but I'm speaking for Alli. It was times that I was going to the doctors and I was pretty much looked over. It was times that we would go and it was like, oh, she'll just outgrow it. She'll be okay. And sometimes that happens in healthcare, and I won't go deep into that one because that's a whole rabbit hole there. But I was consistently going to the doctor as a little girl, telling I'm in pain. That's how we first found out. That's the first thing with any diagnosis, because sometimes you can have issues and never have pain. But for me, as a child, as an adolescent, I was always having pain of my eyes. To this day, I lean my head to the side just because of the fluid, them not knowing. I've always been in pain, sunlight too much. I was raised in a point, go outside, y'all go play. And we would go out there all day. But I was always like drenched and crippled and swelling. And I wasn't a heavyset kid, I am now, but I was thin. And I just remember always swelling and hurting and having headaches, pain. Steady going to the doctor for years, and just pretty much giving medicine. And they told, oh, she just has cluster headaches. Then it turned into, when I got into high school, it turned into, oh, she may have juvenile glaucoma because of what was going on with my eyes. Okay, so that went through for a while. They always said, well, she doesn't need glasses. My sight was very good. I had like 15/20 vision. As time progressed, because of the disease I have, IH, it is also kind of hormonal, and they do test that more women have it, even though there are men that have it too. But because of childbearing ages, it's a little worse on a girl. So during cycles and things, it would just get very, very intense, and I would just have pain and more pain or whatever. And so with that, I was told that maybe she has juvenile glaucoma, because they did started to notice that if she's complaining about her eyes, I don't know when specialty doctors have been a thing, but they never sent me to a specialty doctor. All this time I'm steady saying my head is hurting. They never did CTs. They never did MRIs. So like I said, my mom had been taking me to the doctor for years. That whole time, taking off, making sure. She was like, she steady complaining about her eyes hurting. She steady saying she in pain. They could never find anything, that was going on. And at times, I was getting in trouble because in class, y'all, I would just be like this, sitting down, because I was hurting. And I would just, even to this day, certain things with my eyes, especially after these surgeries, my eyes are very sensitive. So I would just sit in class, and most of the teachers that I had, they knew something was going on, because my mom would say she don't feel good, and we really don't know. I've been trying to take her to the doctor. So they did have an understanding of, oh, I'm not. I remember one teacher, she said, I think she just lazy, but when she know the work, she know it. But it's something going on, Mama. You're going to have to take her to the doctor, because she just thumped over in the class. And so, like I said, as time had grown and as I got to high school, did the symptoms get worse? And at that time, that's when I found out, in about 2000, I think I was like a freshman in high school, they told me it was papilledema. The optic nerve was so swollen that the pain I was having, they said, was on aneurysm level, and they possibly wouldn't even known, had I died, what was actually happening to me, because a vessel could have burst in my brain. That's when it got really, really serious for me, y'all. Very, very serious. You may see little clicks in between the videos, but it's just, I have to gather myself together because this is emotional for me. It's a lot. So going back to that, when they said, okay, it's papilledema, and my optometrist, he's still in business right now in Dallas, and he was like, listen, let me take this back a little bit. It was a lady in Mesquite, Texas, and she said, you're going to have to go to some specialty. Her vision is 2015. It's something behind, and I cannot believe, baby, I'm so sorry that they have not listened to you. She said it's something behind her eyes. So she sent me to this other doctor. He found out that it was papilledema, but he also said, hey, I'm going to have to send you to Methodist Hospital to another specialty. So I went from a optometrist to another optometrist to a neurologist to a neuro-ophthalmologist. So it's different specialties, but a lot of times the main primary care doctor, why keep me in your bubble? Why didn't you send me out, especially if I'm complaining about the same thing over and over again? But I digress. So when they told me at 14 years old, you could have just died in your sleep, and they were like, you're going to have to go to another specialist as soon as possible. Now, keep in mind the specialty people that I'm going to, y'all. I'm the youngest person in here. So that's already intimidating. I'm like, man, what is going on? But I'm hurting so bad that I'm walking around with my eyes closed because light hurts. I can't function in school. I can't hang with my friends because I'm sick. I go to my friend's house and I'm just laying down and they like, man, come on, let's go do this and that. And I can't. I cannot do anything because I'm hurting. So at this time, they're like, he's like, I'm really good friends with this neurologist, and I need you to see him as soon as possible. I've called him. You need to go to him ASAP. So I go to Methodist, and I don't know if I should name drop the doctors or whatever, but he's one of the greats. His name was Dr. Gardner. The other one was Dr. Lee. Great doctors. I don't think Dr. Gardner is in neurology. I think he's in sleep studies or something now. But that man saved my life. The first thing when I came in, I believe they start checking me, and they gave me like a CT, probably checking the ventricles and the arteries in the brain and everything or whatever. They also did MRIs, and I'm 14. So anybody who does an MRI, even as adults, they're afraid of them. And I don't think now they have open MRIs. When I went in there, it was like closed in. I'm kind of claustrophobic, and I'm like, I gotta get in that machine. But at the same time, I have to be strong and I have to fight through this fear because, baby girl, they saying something may burst and you may be up out of here. So I had to gather myself really, really quickly, and they was like, we need to do this MRI. And the first time I was in there, I think I was in there for like 45 minutes to an hour. And they did MRAs, they did MRVs, and then they'll come out, guys. I had to learn very early too. You got to go ahead and get this needle, and they would have to do it with contrast and then without contrast. So it was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot of time off from school, a lot of time off from my mom's job, and sometimes you don't have. I have a village, but people don't understand. And so when I go in here, they're like, okay, we're seeing some things, and now we're going to need her to do a spinal tap. And so I'm like, a spinal tap? And he's like, yes, after you do the MRI, we're going to schedule you probably tomorrow. Like, all of these things were happening, like, boom, boom, like, we need to get you under control immediately. And we need to get this pressure off of your head. We're seeing pressure, and it's sitting behind your eyes. Your optical nerves are so swollen right now. And we're going to have to get you this, some medicines. There's like a diuretic. And, I'm 14, so I'm just soaking this up like, okay, what is this? My mama writing everything down. And I'm like, but what's a spinal tap? And he was like, when I tell you this doctor, he explained everything to me, never made us feel like we were less than because you don't know all of the terms. This is new. And he was like, there's going to be a needle that's going to have to go in your back. We're going to numb you, but we have to pull out this CSF because it's too much cerebral fluid on your brain right now. He said, and we're going to pull out tubes of that and we're going to test it for you. And we're going to need to do that this week. So lumbar punctures, when I tell you guys, my back right now has scar tissue. They have been in my back so many times, countless. When I'm going to these appointments, I have a phone book. If you guys remember what that is, a phone book full at the time. Now everything is electronic, but my files with him, my files with my neuro-ophthalmologist that I've been with, another God-sent doctor, Dr. John G. McHenry, one of the greatest doctors. I don't care what anybody say. I bagged that man up. Another one that saved my life. My files are so thick with them because they saw that I was young, and I was probably one of their youngest patients at the time. The care and love that they showed me, I'm so thankful. But I've had numerous spinal taps, lumbar punctures, and so that was really, really heavy on me, and that was part of the journey with that. So after I did the lumbar puncture, and they tested CSF, they tested for so many different things. I'll put some of the notes here because some stuff I'm not going to remember. Like I said, I've done it so long, but I have brain fog or whatever. Some things you'll have to research. Some of you guys may understand it, but they test you for different things. I think they also would test you for like different diseases if it's meningitis, because that is also another condition. They would check you from MS, because all of these things coincide. All of these different illnesses can some people have overlapping ones, okay? I just now, and I'll get to that, just found out that I have like two major overlapping diseases or whatever. So once they did the CSF, it pulled and it just helped take some of that pressure. To this day, I have cervical spinosis and something of the lumbar right now that I've been tested with from my orthopedic doctors, where my spinal has turned around and now it's causing all this extra pain, because I'm sure all of that fluid been on my body all those 14 years. And I'm also say, me and my family, we joke to a certain extent. Some jokes I don't joke about, but my cousin would always joke and be like, well, why your head so big? Now, we all got big foreheads. And now I'm thinking back, she was saying that and playing, but because certain children do have a certain look with hydrocephalus. And that was an indication. And she's in the nursing field. And I'm like, well, maybe they should have been listening to her crazy self. Somebody should have. Like I said, my mom took me, but there were certain signs. To this day, I may hold my head to this side all day, or I may hold my head, or certain things. It was always there. This fluid had always been there. And you have wishing of the ears, guys. Eye pain, consistent headaches, sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to smell, certain lighting I can't be in, certain things I can't do. Somebody may ask me something. Now, my memory is of an elephant, but it's also, I have those moments. Like, I'm always thinking that Dr. Gardner first told me, he said, listen, I just want to tell you the road ahead has not, well, he knew the story. He said, I know you haven't had a good experiences with doctors and things. For that, I'm so sorry that it took you so long to get here. He said, but the road ahead is not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot that you're not going to be able to do, that your fellow friends and colleagues or whatever you do, you're not going to be able to do those activities, Allison. I'm not saying that your life is going to be limited, but I'm just telling you that there's going to be certain things that may not work for you. You have to be what do you say? You have to be careful with pregnancy. He told me I was going to have to be even careful during pregnancies. And shout out to a young lady. I don't know her name. I'll tag her on one of these videos. I saw her on TikTok, and her story just brought tears to my eyes, because with these diseases, especially amongst other races, they only had it when I came, and they said it was predominantly Caucasian women. Now, I'm brown, but we have, I have different things in our family. All my family is different colors, so we have certain things. So they didn't have certain studies, but he did tell me, he said birth control is not good. It'll mess up your hormonal balance, and it could cause you to go blind. So I just had these CTs, these MRIs, all these exams of the eyes. They put all these different drops in there. I'm sitting in here with all these old people. I done had this thing in my back. Y'all, and then the recovery after the spinal taps, because it had taken some of all that fluid off. The headache that you feel after, because your body is saying, ooh, thank you. It's a headache for a couple of days. So I had to miss school for that. Then my neck, every time that I have it, it's excruciating pain, because all of that just sits here. And then for somebody to tell you, hey, I know you're at an age, and I was not sexually active at the time, but it was just the fact that he was saying, do not get on birth control because it could cause you to go blind. So not only did my optic nerves hurt and all these things with papilledema, now you telling me that this disease will make me blind? I'm 14. I got so much to see. I'm Alli.C. I'm trying to see the world. And I could go blind? Well, all right. And pseudotumor is like a tumor. It mimics a tumor. And like I said, now they say IH, it does make you feel idiopathic. People were like, oh, you look fine. But no, it's so many symptoms. Like I said, wishing in your ears where it sounds like a wolf making noise. You have vertigo. You're off balance. I'm swelling for no reason. I'm hurting all the time. And I'm 14 and I've been dealing with this. And now you telling me that I can be blind if I did want to have a partner at some age. I mean, I'm not saying it, but it does happen. I can't even get on birth control. So he was like, a lot of things that other people are doing, you will not be able to do. And you also need to keep a journal, write things down. And I do it today. I have sticky notes everywhere. I make memos on the phone, voice messages to myself. This is the daily things that I have to go through. And I had to learn at 14 years old that I was not going to be like everybody else. So now I'm like, certain things I'm glad when I look back that I couldn't participate in with certain people. But I'm like, I feel like it was also a curse. But anyway, so that was just in the year of 2000. 2000. Freshman in high school. Can't kick it and do what I want to do. I'm at the doctor all the time. And now they're like, okay, well, we're going to do a follow-up appointment. At that point, it was like every month. So every month I'm going back and they're checking me for my eyes, my optic nerves, checking titrating the medicine. Oh, let's get into the medicine. Acetazolamide, Diamox. When I first started these, it was these big orange pills, and they have like these beads in them, and it's kind of like a diuretic, and it's what slows down that CSF. I've been on that for 25 years. It makes you tingle. It's different side effects. It kind of messes with your mood. It does not taste great. The taste of food can be really horrific. You have these like just moments on top of having floaters in the eyes because of the IIH and all those things or whatever. But that Diamox, it has been a blessing and a curse. And I have to be very careful because I've been on it for so long, depending on how much they give you. It can mess with your kidneys. It can mess with other organs because it is pulling that fluid out of your body. So it's always going to be an adverse on something. But getting back to it. So that was 2000. And that's the story of that. So every month I'm going, and then, over time it's like 3 months. Oh, this, whatever. But I'm going to a neurologist, an optometrist, and I'm going to a neurologist. And that's just in the year of 2000. Now, okay, at the time too, another thing they always say with IH, you have to be careful with your weight. I was maybe in high school, I was probably like 140 at the time. I had a little thickness to me, but it wasn't like that. I ended up with the Diamox. I had to change my diet at that time. And I was on All.i.C like Crystal Light, just eating vegetables, my proteins, things like that. I had gotten so small, okay, by the time I graduated high school, because I did try to stay on that schedule with that medicine, y'all. It was pulling so much out on me. I started getting blotches of the skin because you have to stay pretty much hydrated with that. And so probably by the time I graduated high school, I was maybe 110. And I remember some people was like, girl, what's wrong with you? You a crackhead, you done lost all that weight or whatever. People play, and I'm not going to take it and hold them to that. But, y'all, I told y'all I was sick. So many people like, girl, ain't nothing wrong with you. You ain't sick like that. And I didn't even tell people, but I would just like be to myself, I'm tired, and I don't want to have to keep telling people. Even to this day, I don't like bothering people. Y'all know what's going on with me. So even if I'm a little snappy or something that day, which we all can be, or if I'm just quiet, why is that a problem? No, I can't go out. No, I can't do that. So it's a difference. And so I kind of made it through high school pretty good. with no more issues. So of course it was like, well, stay on the medicine. At one point I was taking like 6 to 8 pills a day at 500 milligrams a pill. That's a lot, y'all. Um, and they kind of weaned me off of it. So in 2006, by this time I'm in college, community college, and I didn't necessarily want to be at home, but because I did not have, even to this day, my neuro-ophthalmologist, Dr. McHenry, is not many in the state of Texas. And we need so many more people in certain areas because I'm not the only one. Me going to doctors now, it's a lot of people that's having neuropathy of the eye nerve and all those things or whatever. But one thing that I kind of grapple with is I was accepted to like Howard University. I was accepted to University of Hawaii. I was accepted to a lot of colleges. Even though I was going through a lot, I was still the top of my class. Um, I had so many different scholarships, things of that nature. So I did beat the odds, guys. Yeah, I wasn't just a lazy kid. Once I kind of started knowing what was going on, the medicine was making it a little easier. So I kept those AP classes and things or whatever. And I still graduated, at the top. But it hit me too because I'm like, I don't have those doctors in these places that I'm going. And, Google wasn't as big as it was. So certain things I couldn't find out like, oh, okay, well, I have a neuro ophthalmologist there. If something happens, who's going to come get me? And I'm not upset with my family, but I do wish that they would have pushed me to still go. Regardless, and I could possibly just could have come home if I needed to take certain appointments or whatever. So that's just one part of my life that I, kind of regret that I did not go off to the schools that I preferred at the time. So I'm in community college, and after they lessen the diamox, the condition start. I wasn't, what do you call it? Like I was out of remission. It came back. So I'm in college. I'm actually about to finish my associates because I graduated in 2004, and I had already had like a lot of credits or whatever, and I was going to switch over so that I could do my 4 year, get into my bachelor's or whatever. And out of nowhere, I don't even think I gained any weight, but it just came back with a vengeance. The headaches start coming. Now keep in mind, I'm going to my appointments regularly, y'all, and this stuff just hit me. And this time, Dr. McHenry was like, it's getting a little bad. They start seeing that my optic nerve was pulsating a little bit, and it was getting a little, it was swelling. And so he said, we're going to have to do a nerve decompression. What is that? He said, well, we go into the back of your eye to your optic nerve, and we have to cut into it to alleviate that pressure so that, in a sense, it can breathe, you know? And I'm like, what? I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And yet and still, he was like, because if you don't, you could lose your sight for life in both eyes. And he was like, he's a doctor of not many words. When he comes in, he's going to tell you the truth. He's not a guinea pig doctor where he's going to try all these different things. He tries to be as holistic as he can be. He listens, and when he speaks, I know that he's telling me this from a genuine place. And he was like, you're going to have to make the decision, and we're going to have to do this as soon as possible. So I was actually about to finish. This was like 1 year. I was trying to get out a little sooner than my 2 year at the time. I was going to graduate a little earlier, so I was taking like an overload of classes. I was working full time, guys, and I was like doing like 4 to 6 classes because I was trying to get out of there so I can go ahead and do my bachelor's. And he was like, I think you'll be okay. You'll be down for like 2 weeks for one eye and I think 2 weeks for the other one. And I think right around that time it was like exams. So you have to understand mentally I'm checking out. Like how I'm gonna study if I can't see, how I'm gonna drive, how I'm gonna do all these things or whatever. And pretty much I end up having to drop out of school and get some W's or whatever for withdrawing. I didn't drop out in the right way because I was just so depressed. I was going through so much, and I did not finish that spring semester of 2006. So that was one of those delayed times or whatever. I was just trying to excel. So as I was trying to graduate ahead of my class at the time, that was a small delay or whatever, but I did need to take off, and I ended up taking off almost a whole year, I believe, because it was just a lot on me. After having that nerve decompression, you have to put the ointments and the eye drops in your eyes for a certain time, and then they have to go in like y'all have to be like this on the microphone, on the eye exam, holding on to the little things, and they like get all these different things that look like telescopes, and they looking in your eyes and putting all these different things in there just because they have to do that. That's they checks and balances. And so then he was like, okay, that one's good. Are you seeing this and that? But for like months I couldn't wear makeup. Not saying I wear a lot, but I couldn't do anything to the eye. And I couldn't be in certain lights, and so I had to walk around in these glasses. And I didn't. I'm young, and it was these ugly little glasses they would kind of give you and things or whatever. And in the beginning, you had to sit in darkness because of the eye and all that. So I just took off. I didn't want to be seen. I kind of just became a recluse. I just started sitting up in a room, and I just remember, like I said, it's Suicide Awareness Month, September. I understand when people go through things. If you haven't been through certain stuff, you don't understand it. And I'm not saying that I actually just wanted to commit suicide in a way. I'm not going to say that. I was just like, why I got to go through this, And I couldn't see for about 2 weeks because my eye was covered up, during the recovery time. And I just remember sitting in a dark room, and those thoughts, of the enemy do come through. And it was just like, why do you even want to live through this? And then you got to do it again. So for about a year, I just kind of, like Brandy would say, sitting up in my room. Like I was just sitting in this room in darkness, excluding myself from everybody, whatever. Just trying to process and knowing that I'm the type of person, when you say I can't, trust me, Alli gonna do it. When they told me these obstacles could stop me from life itself, whatever, I was like, nah, I'm gonna persevere and I'm gonna pull through, because that's kind of been the lineage and what my mom and my grandparents instilled in me to keep going. And I remember even snapping at my grandpa, OG, a real measure of a real man, and he was like, just keep going. And I was like, I don't want to keep going. I'm tired. Y'all not going through this. And they've had surgeries. And then it was people like, well, what's going on? And after you've told them what disease you have and the things that they will say to you, and you don't look sick, I got this big old net on my eye, I can't see, what you mean, whatever. And sometimes people just say things knowingly or unknowing that you're very sensitive because of certain things or whatever. So like I said, I just remember sitting there and thoughts coming like, why do you even want to live through this? You hurting every day. Like I said, with this disease, I've hurt every day of my life. I cannot tell you a day there's something on my body, especially pertaining to the areas of where it affects the most. I have headaches every day. The doctor asks you on a scale of 1 to 10. That right there perturbs me. To my other sick people, when they ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, I tell them I don't believe in that scale because it's over that. What would you feel like if you feel like somebody bashed your head into a wall every day? And these are headaches that it's just headaches that you feel. all day. I can't go out and enjoy my life because the sun done hit me a certain way. Now I gotta run back in because my head is hurting. I gotta sit in the light because I'm having a migraine, and I gotta go sit in darkness. And then I love music and I can't blast it because it's hurting my ears. And I'm also hearing this wolf howling in my ear, and I'm off balance and I don't feel good. I'm tripping over how I'm walking. I can't remember what I just walked in here for, and I can't eat that because I don't want it to mess with this, and I'm taking this type of medicine and it could, offset that medicine, and I can't even go out and drink because I'm on medication with my friends and all of these things. So it was a lot. It's a lot of whatever. And like I said, I'm the type of person, when you say I can't, I have to push through. And I did graduate. I ended up graduating with my associates in 2008. So that still was one of the greatest things that happened. And then I moved on to a university, and I also was able to finish a little sooner in 2010 with my bachelor's. So that is my first story of dealing with IIH. Diagnosed in 2000, having a surgeries in 2006, but I did end up meeting my goal, and that was graduating college with my bachelor's at the time. That was my first goal, was to get through that regardless and not be blind. So I'm at this point, I'm still living with this on the daily, but about 2015. I decided I was going to go ahead and be a mother. And I remember him saying that it's going to be a little hard during pregnancy because your body is going through different hormones, water retention, all these things or whatever. I attended my appointments. They would check my eyes, make sure that I wasn't swelling. So I did really, really well with my first child. By the second, some of the symptoms in 2018, and then when I had my third in 2019, y'all, it started to come back. It was coming back with a vengeance again, and I started to notice it, that I was swelling, that I was having issues and neuropathy, not only of my eyes, but it went down to my feet or whatever, to where I thought I had like MS. I wasn't walking right. I would have crippling issues. They found out that I had like some type of arthritis. My hands would just cripple. I had carpal tunnel. All these things were happening after the pregnancy. I don't know if it brought it on, and all the fluid going in my body in certain pockets was probably making it not even better. So I ended up going to a rheumatologist, and that's when I had the diagnosis of its fibromyalgia. So I found that out in 2019, and then I also found about plantar fasciitis of the feet and all of that during one of my pregnancies. My back, and I was having sciatic nerve issues, and so they were like, you're having all these issues. And I work heavily with computers, and I was having epileptic seizures, small ones. So I would have blackouts where and I was just I never passed out fully, but I have those little blackouts, and sometimes my vision, you may not even see anything but what's forward. Or sometimes I would have blackouts where you couldn't see here. And that's when I started to notice after pregnancy, like, ooh, my vision is really now being affected. And then you have these, I make little videos that I have, and I start posting them, that you see these little floaters everywhere. So all of these things happening, and I'm trying to move as much as I can, but it hurts on top of the daily headaches. And so pregnancy, I'm thankful I was able to have my children or whatever, but I do notice that after my pregnancy, some of the symptoms, and they got a little worse. And now I'm up under the umbrella of IIH, fibromyalgia, okay, and then some other things, and I'll share those with you at different times or whatever. So now we kind of know where the pain is, the fibromyalgia, we don't know why, but this happens and why you're in pain or whatever. And so as time happened, and then the great COVID-19 happened, some of the things that got worse were my headaches, the tendinitis, the sound was a little bit more. And then I just remember having, it almost feels like electricity with the fibromyalgia, but COVID made it worse. I'm already dealing with the tingling from the Diamox. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes the Diamox, I had to take it as needed because it also brings symptoms. And I've been on Topamax and Cymbalta and I done been on all medicine, and understand that this medicine messes with your stomach, your lining, all of these things. That's a whole nother issue or whatever. But when COVID happened, it had me tingling so bad to where I couldn't even hold my finger like this. I couldn't clench because it would hurt so bad. It would hurt to pick things up or whatever. So it's almost like COVID to me brought on a whole nother beast in my body. Okay. And now I'm going to go break down where I'm at now. So after COVID, a lot of businesses, I work in higher education now. And I also used to work, like I said, I've worked a little bit of everywhere. And so for the people, I worked in the medical field and all those things or whatever. But at this time, I was like heavily in higher education. So I'm using the computer a lot. So I need my eyes. And so they're telling me, that you had these little epileptic episodes and all these things or whatever. And so we were working from home a lot at the time. And so they started to bring us back into the office and they started doing layoffs. So I was laid off a little bit after that in 22. So I didn't have the insurance. And when you don't have insurance, I'm still one of those people. I end up going to the county because I know I needed it. And so I did explain to them what doctors I had and all these things, whatever. And my doctor, Dr. McHenry, his staff did reach out to me. They were like, hey, we have noticed that you haven't been to your appointments. And I did explain to them what was going on or whatever. And they were like, let us talk to him. And maybe some time after, he did call me. He was like, come on in. We'll make payment arrangements for you. I was going through the county and there were some things because they deal with so many people. And I'm not going to say the bedside manner wasn't there, but I think a lot of times some doctors are numb. So they missed some things that my normal doctor wouldn't. And they were like, oh, you're okay. And when I went to him, he was like, no, you kind of swelling a little bit or whatever. And I ended up getting back on the medicine. Okay. Fast forward, so I'm working again. I got my insurance or whatever, thank God, because the doctors who care for you. You know what the bedside manner. You feel the humanistic side of them, that they care, they love their patients or whatever. So I'm starting back to work, and it's hard taking off. We post COVID, everybody's trying to get in. I got to keep a job. I start missing appointments or whatever, and I was also, I'm not gonna lie, I was tired of the medicine. The medicine was taking so much out of me. I'm dealing with my family, whatever. Got to take care of my kids, all those things or whatnot. And I just remember telling myself, you better start taking that medicine again or whatever. So about 2024, I started to notice with this eye that I was having some of those blurred, like I can see, if I position myself, I can see better. But then I started seeing some of those blockades in my eye. And so when I went, he was like, we're going to monitor this or whatever, but it never got better. So at the end of 2024, I ended up having another eye sheath decompression of the eye or whatnot. And this eye wasn't so bad, and they said they wanted to go in this one, and I was like, no, I'm not going to let y'all go over here. Not right now, whatever. But my eye is still blurry right now, and it is something going on with my corneas and all of that. And so my 2015 vision is probably now 2050 or something like that, because of the optic nerve and different issues of the eye because of that fluid. So now, after I did that and I had to rest for about 2 weeks because of that surgery, but I'm steady trying to get back to work because, I got to take care of the family, whatever. And I know how it feels to sit back up in a house, and I refuse to go back in the house and get depressed and, be closing the curtains and sitting in the dark and all that or whatever. He was like, okay, I'm also going to need you to go ahead and we got to go do this lumbar puncture. And I hadn't done one in maybe 2-something years. Now, keep in mind, I've had epidurals with all my kids. So that's already one thing. And I'm like, oh, here they go or whatever. So he did a lumbar puncture. It was very high. And this time, y'all, that I must have had so much fluid on my body. And like I said, it's like your body is releasing, because too, I notice I always do this. It's always, this shoulder area. I'm always huffed up because of that fluid. It sits right in this area on my body or whatever. And so when they did the lumbar puncture that time in 2024, I was in pain for about a month. It just feels like my headache, like when you do the simple things, like that's how the headaches, and it was so bad. And then on top of, when he's checking my eye again, same thing from like 2006, they go and they checking your eye and they putting all this stuff in your eye, these little things or whatever. And he was like, how's your vision? And I'm like, it's blurry. And he said, I think you've lost a fragment of that peripheral or something or whatever. And he was like, he was just giving me the reality. So I'm like, am I going blind? He said, no, I don't think you're going blind in it, but you've lost a certain fragment of it. Whew. That's hard, y'all. That's something that I never hoped that would happen. Never. Now, here we are, and I'm about to conclude with this first question, your diagnosis story. It's going to be about 30-something minutes long because I just got to tell it, y'all. I got to tell it. 2025, I'm like, he's like, you might have to wear certain glasses for reading or whatever. You need to protect yourself, being on your screens at work or whatever, to help with the blue light and all that or whatever. And so he's, like I said, one of the best doctors, and I thank him for his truth. He didn't try to play with me. He was just telling me, it's a possibility it comes back. He's had patience. I've been on Reddit, whatever the app is. There's people that have, some lady was blind and her sight just came back. That's kind of the thing with it or whatever. And he was like, we may have to go deeper, whatever. He didn't specify. So the next appointment, I kind of told him, I said, do you think I need something that had been discussed with me by this lady? I believe her name was Miss Marlene. I met her when I was in high school. She was really good, and I used to email her. I don't know where she is to this day. I thank her because she had children, and she told me how she had a shunt, and she showed me the scar. And she said, she was a guinea pig back then until she met Dr. McHenry or whatever. She really encouraged me for years. I pray she's still alive. I hope I can find those old emails one day and tell her thank you, because she did tell me, and I think she had partial vision in certain one part of her eye or whatever. And she told me this was going to happen. And I remember 2025, I was like, I'm probably going to have to get a shunt, because this fluid was so much or whatever. And so the hardest thing was trying to find the perfect neurosurgeon who deals with IIH. So I'm thinking of the center. I can't think of the hospital right now that's in Minnesota. I'm like, I know it's a place in Houston. If I got to travel and just stay down there by myself, whatever, make sure my kids are taken care of with my family, whatever, I may just have to go and sit and do that or whatever. So my doctor, he sends me to the Brain Institute, and it's a Methodist hospital, one of the greatest, sweetest, humblest, little tiny, petite little woman. Her name is Lauren Sand. I'm going to shout her out to the mountaintop. Her team took me on specifically because she deals with this. And at first, dealing with the issues of doctors. Sometimes they have overworked staff. And one young lady first, they were sending my paperwork in, and she was like, I don't know if we cover it. Hold on, let me go find somebody or whatever. So that was a stressor because they have to read through your reports. And like I said, Dr. Sand read through my things and was like, I'll take her. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to travel to Minnesota. I'm going to have to travel to Houston to find this certain doctor. And here she was right here. And when I met her, when she asked me what's been going on, she said, I kind of read some of your paperwork or whatever. And she said, well, I'm going to do, I can't think of the testing that I was reading on before. She said, no, knowing what you already have, the angiograms. A lot of people was telling me how they have to sit and you're awake and they're sticking these things behind you and testing for your it's for your arteries and then your ventricles and stuff. And I was like, oh, she said, no, you're past that. We already have read your files. I'm just going to get you an MRV and an MRA. We're going to see where it's going to have to go. And either you're going to get a shunt, or I can't think of the other one, guys, right now. It'll come back to me. But she said, you pretty much already have researched this, haven't you? And I said, yeah, I have. I've been staying up. I've known about it for years, and I never thought that it was going to happen. And she said, well, I want you to start reading up on the shunt. This is the shunt that you're going to most likely have, or the other device. I can't think of it. I don't even think of it now because I have a shunt. So as of April 2025, I had to have a brain surgery where they added in a programmable shunt. Now, in my case, excuse me, I got allergies. In my case, I didn't have to go through some of the testing, the angiograms and different things. But when you're having major surgeries, if you guys ever have had them, there's a lot of clearances, blood tests. I'm sure they even researched my CSF from the last time I did CTs and different MRIs. And they checked my, my notes from Dr. McHenry, checking my eye exams. They did, I think, cardiology tests, y'all. Like, they did everything to make sure once they put me under because of this brain surgery that I was good. So normally most people get their shunts here, which I still have. They had to drill in certain areas or whatever. But because of where I guess the head was shaped or whatever, all this fluid had been sitting right here. And so for me, thank God, and I'll show y'all the videos because I want to put my story out first, and then I'm going to kind of show you, my life after the surgeries and everything. I just remember going to the shower, and it was part of the medicine affects your hair. So my hair was shedding different things. I had a hysterectomy before, and I was going through hormonal issues, anemia, all these things was just messing with my body. So that's why I said I have a checklist of other things that have attributed to being a woman with this disease or whatever. And so she was like, yeah, we need to go ahead and get you in because we seeing that it's fluid just sitting there or whatever. And so I chopped all my hair off, got my son's barber to handle up on that for me. And I chopped all my hair off. Now, even though some people can keep their hair, something just told me, go on and just get rid of all of it or whatever. And she was like, I'm so thankful that you did that, because when they did, it was another test that they did right before, and they saw that the fluid was here. So I have one of the incisions is here, and you'll see the videos. And as you can see, there's a dent here. The line is kind of going in now or whatever. So I try to put a little makeup on it now that it's healed. And that's been since, this is September. So that was back in August, April, excuse me. So the shunt is here, part of it. And it goes, and they drop it something between here. It's a hole here, a hole behind my ear, and then it goes down, and then they had to insert it. She said it was barbaric the way that they had to go in my neck because I probably have had so much damage in my area. I've gone to chiropractors. They saw it, and I probably can't go now, but I just remember a chiropractor telling me it was something going on with my cervical spine and stuff. So don't know if all of this. I used to ask my mom, y'all sure y'all didn't drop me or twist my spine when I was little, but it's congenital, whatever. And so they went in, the shunt goes in and it goes down and it's just swinging inside or whatever, and it's a CERTA something, and it's a programmable shunt, and I'll show you those videos. So that was my diagnosis story, guys. I know it's probably lengthy. Just stay with me because I got more questions that I'm going to answer, whatever. But that is my story. And so as I was reading the notes, I always read you your notes, ask your doctor, and she would sit there, her practitioners, her team, they will answer all those questions. I'm reading through the notes, okay? And I'm going to pause the video right here, okay? Because that's one of them emotional things, okay? I'm reading through the notes. And the diagnosis, because of the surgery, said hydrocephalus. Keep in mind, when my mom was doing her research years ago when I was an adolescent, before I even had gotten bad, certain things she asked those doctors before I got to those new ones. And I'm not going to down talk the other doctors. Maybe they just didn't know, but they should have sent me to those specialties. Clinics, you know what I'm saying? If you didn't know and I'm steady saying something, stop holding me here hostage. And you have to have referrals and all those things. And so if that doctor is not referring you right, or sending the right notes, I probably would have been just gridlocked into it. And I remember hydrocephalus had came up when they kind of told us about certain things. So this whole time I had hydrocephalus. And it was most likely congenital. I maybe didn't have the head like some, not all. And now I'm in a Facebook group and I'm looking at these precious little babies. All of them don't even look like they have it. So everything, guys, when I say, and I refuse to be depressed, so those thoughts, you're not going to take me over anymore. Everything happens for a reason, okay? Whew. So this whole time, I had hydrocephalus. You know what I'm saying? My mom had been asking them, like, is this something from birth? She's been, complaining since as long as she can remember. Mom, I'm in pain. Mom, I'm hurting. My head hurting. I'm sitting in class. Thank you to the teachers that would tell my mama, no, it's not that she's not trying to learn. So my learning disability that I probably didn't even know certain things that I was going through. It was because I was in pain. It was the hydrocephalus. And it's only the grace of God, and I'll never deny my Heavenly Father that kept me alive. All that fluid that they've drained out of my spine and this device is taken care of. And she said, as of 2025, she said the capacity of how much fluid you had on your brain. I am so surprised that your brain had not swollen. And I've had different people that I've met over the years. These young women have told me that they've had to go and crack their skull to alleviate. I had so much fluid on my body and in my brain that it was past the capacity, but God. And thank you, this little device. You hold on to me now, work for me, please. But so I'm going to conclude my diagnosis story here. So as of 2025, I know that I have hydrocephalus, IIH, and fibromyalgia with some honorary issues. I feel like had I had the specialty doctors sooner, it would have stopped some of the blindness. It would have stopped a lot of other issues that I suffer from now. I'm not mad. Like I'll tell anybody, I'll never deny my Heavenly Father. Because there's no way that I've had all of these issues and that much fluid on my body and in my head that I should not have been out of here. I could have had, like he said, an aneurysm years ago. All this time I was crying and people didn't believe me. And, oh, you ain't that type of sick. And this whole time I was that type of sick. And thank God I didn't look like it because I was still able to go to work. I didn't have to beg. I didn't have to ask anybody for help. The village that I have has been that village, my prayer warriors. So all I'm asking is you to be All.i.C strong. And I'm all in for awareness. And I want you to know pain is not normal. Pain is not normal, and you are not crazy. And you have a right to speak up for yourself, just like those doctors have a seal of approval that they're supposed to honor. To the doctors, I'll go to that on the next one because I have questions and answers for them too that I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to just leave it. This is my diagnosis story, and this is your girl, all in with your girl, Alli C. Y'all have a good one.